Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott Selections here for Friday, November 1st. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. Unfortunately, we picked up a loss with the Jimmy Garoppolo prop on the under and passing yards. Not only did he go over, but he had his first 300-yard game of the season, as the Cardinals simply had no answers whatsoever. In terms of the game flow, props the Cardinals for making the game close. But in terms of the actual prop itself, the 49ers, who have been known, as I mentioned in the stats yesterday, for pretty much just running the ball and really never throwing, kind of completely flipped the game plan, and I didn't see it coming at least. As Jimmy Garoppolo attempted 37 passes, and they only had 31 rush attempts for 3.3 yards per carry. So Arizona did a good job of stopping the run. They were terrible against the pass, and game flow did not help us out. A couple of big third down conversions also for Garoppolo. A nice win by the 49ers, but I'm still a little skeptical in the long term based on the fact they haven't really played anybody. They're still a very solid team. I still think New Orleans is the best team in the NFC, but I definitely think that San Francisco will be one of the favorites to make the Super Bowl, of course, from the NFC. But I still don't believe that this team's good enough to beat New Orleans in New Orleans, but we shall see in the future. But in terms of the card today, there's pretty much one college football game between Navy and Connecticut, and Navy's favored by roughly 4 touchdowns. I know Connecticut stinks, but I'm not going to give out any play in that just because of the fact that I really don't like I just don't like the number here. But overall, I think Navy's going to smack them, but that's a separate point. In terms of the card, though, we're going to actually be talking about the NBA. And CR, it's actually funny you mentioned the Kings first quarter under against the Jazz, because it's actually going to be the matchup that we're going to be doing for play of the day. However, we will not be taking the first quarter under. I do like where your head's at on that one. But in terms of the play of the day, we're actually going to be taking the Utah Jazz to win this game at -4.5, which is available on FanDuel at -110. Now, the main reason why we like this is based on two factors. One, the Kings are terrible. They're currently 0-5. They're one of the worst teams in the entire league based on their record. And two, the Jazz are 4-1, and these two teams actually played each other about a week ago. And well, the Jazz, yeah, they just destroyed them. There's no real other way to sugarcoat it. The Jazz just absolutely destroyed the Kings, and they won by 32 points. That was in Utah. This will be in Sacramento. But Sacramento's 0-3 in the first quarter here. And Sacramento's 0-3 at home so far this season. So far, they've lost their last 2 home games to the Nuggets by 7, who are a decent team, and they lost to the Hornets by 7. The Hornets stink. The Kings just aren't that good. It appears that I mentioned before that Luke Walton's second half adjustments or lack thereof has been a serious issue so far this season. Plus, they're still missing Bagley. They've been using Rashad Holmes a little bit more, who has actually played pretty well. But as a whole, I definitely think that Bogdanovich will give the Kings some problems at the 4 spot, as after the first meeting that they've had together, Bogdanovich went off as he ended up having a game-high 26 points. I just think that the floor space is going to be too good for Utah. Kings are going to try to use their big men, try to overpower the Jazz, which is very tough to do when you have Rudy Gobert in the paint. Donovan Mitchell is still going to be the best player on the court, and overall, until the Kings actually win a game, I'm going to go against them, as I simply think the Jazz should be able to overwhelm the Kings over the course of pretty much the entire game. I think the Kings could start off fast because the money has come in on the Kings, so I definitely think that makes sense early on. But the Kings don't do anything well. If you look at their numbers, they're averaging 98.6 points per game, which is terrible. They're giving up a whopping 115.6 points per game, so they don't play any defense. They're shooting 41% from the floor. They're getting 41.6 rebounds per game, which isn't that great. The only stat that they have a higher number in than the Jazz is blocks, as they are averaging 4.6 blocks per game. Everything else in favor of Utah. Utah has a field goal percentage of roughly 6% higher than the Kings. So the Kings just struggle offensively. They struggle defensively. They don't do anything well. And I understand that people are going to take the Kings, say this team's desperate. They're going to look for revenge as they got destroyed by the Jazz by 30 the first time they played. I don't really know if I buy into that narrative, because the Kings have been embarrassed by everybody, and yet they still haven't won a game. So I don't think it really matters. I think the Utah should win this game by at least 6 points. I think it could be close for the first half, but the Kings in the second half have definitely struggled to keep the momentum, and I definitely think that Snyder will come up with a better game plan at halftime than Walton. So for that reason, the play of the day will be on the Utah Jazz, -4.5, which is available on FanDuel at -110, and that will be the play of the day. Now, in terms of some of the other leans on today's card, lean to the over 243.5 against Brooklyn and Houston. That number is one of the largest totals I've ever seen, but there's no way I can take the under, as Brooklyn loves to go up tempo and shoot threes. Houston loves to go up tempo and shoot threes. And after Houston gave up 158 points to the Wizards of all teams in regulation, I would definitely take the over. I think both teams should get into the 120s, 130s, and I would take the over in that one as a result. Looking at the rest of the card, I have to take San Antonio minus 6.5. Golden State is just bad. There's no way around it now. They were bad with Curry in the lineup this season, but in general, I definitely think that as a whole, I mean, Golden State, your starting lineup right now is D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Poole, Glenn Robinson, Draymond Green, and Willie Cauley-Stein. That's not a lineup that's going to get you a lot of wins. Plus, their bench is still banged up after they lost these amount of people last year. Kevin Looney's still out. I mean, everyone knows Thompson's out. Jacob Evans is out. The Warriors are just a mess. I think the Spurs are going to win this game by 15 to 20. I know the Spurs will be missing DeJounte Murray, which is a big loss. But as a whole, there's a reason why this line has gone from roughly -4 to -6.5. I think the Spurs, I know they are playing the second night of a back-to-back, but they just lost to the Clippers. Golden State pretty much has no talent left. Golden State has shut down Curry for about 3 months. This team's going to try to get a high draft pick. So I think San Antonio will come out focused, try to get back on track, and I think San Antonio will win this game by double digits. So I'll lean to the Spurs on that one. Now, a couple of questions here. I also like the under in the Jazz game as well. I just think the Jazz will win the game more. So that's my personal play today. But if I had to lean one way, I would actually lean to the under in the Jazz game, and I would lean to the under in the Warriors game as well. A question with Cleveland and Indiana. It's kind of a tough game, honestly, based on the fact that Cleveland has actually looked surprisingly decent so far in the Beeline era. They're projected to be terrible in the Eastern Conference. Are actually 2-2. But as a whole, I'll lean to Indiana. I definitely think Miles Turner's absence will hurt, but I have to lean to the over, as the over's gone from 211 to roughly 214. A lot of money on the over, a lot of steam. Have to back the over movement in that one. So I'll lean to the over in that game. And I'm actually going to lean to Indiana, as I just think they're a better overall team. I recommended Indiana against the Nets a couple of days ago, but as a whole, Cleveland has been terrible on the road. They've been good at home. This game's on the road. Indiana's still winless at home and just one home game, but they definitely looked like they figured some stuff out against the Nets. Sabonis is great. Brogdon's great. I just think that Indiana's a better overall roster. Cleveland has some youth and they have some talent, but I definitely think that the one area that Cleveland will be able to take advantage of is on the boards with Turner out. But as a whole, I just think Indiana's more talented. So I'll lean to Indiana -7. I'm not going to bet it personally, but I will lean to Indiana on that one. Other than that, though, looking at the rest of the card here, what else do I like here? What do I like? No, overall, I think that's pretty much it in terms of the leans in that one. Not really much else to talk about. Hockey, I'm not really going to talk about. But as a whole, though, play of the day will be on the Utah Jazz -4.5. The line movement's a bit concerning for me, but at the same point, I just think Sacramento's that bad. And Utah literally just smacked this team by 30. People can say, well, Sacramento might play better, but I just simply don't think they have the talent. And I think Utah will continue their winning ways, as they have entered this game on a bit of a hot streak. As they're 4-1 so far this season, they have won each of their last 3 games. So for that reason, other than that, that's going to be the play of the day. Other than that, though, that's going to be this installment of Scott Selections here for Friday, November 1st. Good luck to all of you and your respective bet today. Bye, everyone.